Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our second episode of Wrestle Rewind. I'm your host, Tommy T. I am joined tonight by my co-host, Double K, and for the very first time, we have a microphone in front of Smokey Z.
What's up?
So, guys, if you at any point in time can't understand Smokey Z, it's because the vape has fogged up the microphone.
I was going to say the mic's not smoking, so I don't know what it's doing over there.
I think we're good right now.
Okay, all right. So, folks, we've got a lot to talk about tonight on Wrestle Rewind. Again, this is our show where we, the core, are going to be reviewing the wrestling world as a whole. And we've got a list of topics here that range everything from backstage news in the WWE to Impact Wrestling. So I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked off. And if anybody has paid any attention recently, there's been a lot of talk about backstage heat with Lio Rush. So there's been a couple of interviews that he's done. There's been some folks from backstage that have spoken up about some incidents involving him. There's even a quote out there that's floating around that I saw.
I was just saying some prominent figures are speaking up.
Yeah, some that for somehow or another. Let's talk about Lio Rush saying that he was on par with The Rock. Double K, what are your thoughts on that?
If I can control the laughter that I was getting ready to have right there, on what grounds can anyone truthfully say there may have been one or two across history that were as good as The Rock? Maybe. But how can Lio Rush, of all people, claim that he is better on the mic than The Rock? I think that's a joke.
Very much so.
So I don't understand how this guy can put himself on par with the great one. You know, it is one thing to compare yourself to legends of wrestling, and I'm cool with that. As a fan, though, I have a problem with you taking a stance comparing yourself to one of the most iconic figures of WWE's past 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't just pick anybody.
No, he didn't pick a Gilbert.
You picked one. You picked a Mount Rushmore figure.
Yeah,
is what you just did.
Yeah,
some bold words.
You know, you're putting yourself in the pages of The Rock when you're about on par with D'Lo Brown.
I'll give you that. That you know what? I was sitting here as we were talking, trying to figure out who or where I would compare Lio Rush. Yeah, I might give him a little step up from D'Lo Brown, but you know what? That's a very fair comparison. I mean,
a much smaller D'Lo Brown.
Well, yeah.
Fact.
I mean,
Fact.
Leo's not a big guy.
With every bit as big of a mouth.
But you know what? Let's not take everything from the guy. He's got a mouth.
Well, right, I just said, with every bit as big of a mouth.
He is the mouthpiece for Bobby Lashley. So.
They've pulled him off of Bobby Lashley now. That sounded weird, but...
moving on.
Yeah, so, but we haven't seen him yet emerge by himself. So the question is where does he go? He's not going to be a Kofi Kingston right now. He's not going to be a main eventer on Monday Night Raw.
No.
So is he NXT? Which, by the way, for a guy who's gloating about his talent, he never proved himself in NXT. So that's one thing. He got to skip that and come straight to 205 Live.
Well, I think that's a big part of the problem, what you just said right there. He wants and sees himself as a main event guy. He wants and, he feels like he should be there. And you know what? Maybe one day down the road he will be. But what you just said, he's wanting to skip all the little things that you need to do to get where you need to be in this business. There's a lot of unwritten rules in that locker room that he's not willing to cooperate with and not willing to follow.
Sure. And I don't know where this is going to go long-term for Lio Rush. I've even read some stuff today that says that he has now officially asked for his release. I don't know how true that is. I don't know how, what the evidence is behind that. I've only seen one report of it. But I'm going to tell you right now that if Lio Rush left, I don't think I'd miss him.
Well, no, you wouldn't know he was even gone.
Where would he even go, is my question.
Well, but here's...
Ring of Honor?
Maybe. I mean, he could do well on the independent scene, absolutely. But if he's looking for massive, big time fame,
CPW is looking for good names.
it's
You
true.
might be able to do something there.
That's true. We'll pass that along. But my thing is not. Yes, this is stemming from our conversation about Leo Rush right now. But what's getting old for me is all of these superstars, quote unquote superstars, who think that they're so much better than what they actually are. That they think they can bully their way to the top or bully, I mean, for God's sakes, think that they can bully Vince McMahon into doing what they say and what they want to do. How many times over the course of WWE's history have many tried and failed at that?
Only one has succeeded.
Well, that's true. But, you know, the one of the things that made, one of the things that's made the ability for these superstars to push people around. So for me, the individual that you're talking about is Austin, who,
It could only be that one.
it's been documented that there were so many frustrating points between those two guys where Vince would say, we're going to do this. And Austin would flat out say, no, we're not. I don't want to do that. This is what we're going to do. Even in his Hall of Fame induction speech, it was a love-hate relationship.
Absolutely.
Austin hated Vince. Vince loved him.
Right.
Because let's face it, folks, without Stone Cold Steve Austin, the WWE as you know it today does not exist.
Right. But the
Would
reason
they have even won the wars?
No.
Probably not.
No.
But the reason it worked for him to be able to do whatever in the hell it was he decided he wanted to do was the fact that what he decided he wanted to do delivered on everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we have right now with all these, I'm not where I want to be. I want my release. I want to go somewhere and be a superstar. You know what? Nobody would even know who you are for the most part with a lot of these people without WWE at this point.
Well, that's true.
And if you were going out and delivering on what it was that you were brought there to deliver on, you wouldn't be demanding for your release right now.
I got a quick question. Would wrestling be as popular as it is now if it wasn't for the WWE and Vince?
Well, I don't think you have the independent scene that you have now.
Right.
But I'm going to go a touch further, and I'm going to say I don't think you'd have the independent scene that you have now if it wasn't for what Hunter has done down in Florida with NXT. He proved that you can take a small venture and grow it to a brand.
Mm-hmm. And make it huge.
You know, we've talked about, as a group, we've talked about this a ton, where NXT takeovers have become better shows than the WWE main roster shows. I am more excited for the takeover coming on June 1st than I am for Money in the Bank. But that's also because we don't get a takeover every single month. We don't get the same faces shoved down our throats
Every week.
You know, NXT only has an hour on Wednesday nights. You're lucky if you see 2 or 3 matches.
Very quick.
And their promos are very short. It's not a 15-minute show opener.
But with the promos, even though it is very short, get to the point. Quick.
Well, sure. There's meaning. But, you know, we've talked a lot about as a group that there's something to be said for letting the performers tell the story in the ring. That's what NXT and that's what Hunter allows them to do. On the main roster, they don't have that. There's a lot of production. There's a lot of timing. There's a lot of stuff when you're talking major television that has to go into play. And even the indie wrestlers and the smaller venues will tell you there's so many moving parts to that production that it's not as easy as we as fans often see it. We've had the opportunity to talk to the folks that do some of the production, that do some of the in-ring work, that do some of the support work. And we know that that's not always... There's just so much more to it that goes on behind the scenes that we don't see. But that also goes back to bring this full circle back to the Leo Rush conversation of there's so much that goes on behind the scenes between the performers that we don't see or hear about as fans. It just doesn't happen. And so, you know, if he wants his release, I would never want anybody to be unhappy at what they're doing. But as a fan, I draw a line where you're comparing yourself to people saying that you deserve something when you can go prove yourself in Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, wherever else you want, but I don't see Ring of Honor superstars making headlines at MetLife Stadium. I don't see Cody Rhodes headlining WrestleMania. So he's got his own promotion, and they're working to build their own brand, and I wish them nothing but success. I look forward to whatever the WWE versus AEW fight brings. But
I'm excited.
you can't compare yourself to main event caliber performers when all you've done is hang off of somebody else's back for the past 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, and
Now,
that's it.
he would probably make the argument if that's all they're allowing him to do.
Well, there's a reason, though, that's
He's
all they're
talented,
allowing you
but
to do.
he's talented. And I think they let him do that because he needed work being a promo guy because his in-ring work is good. Mm-hmm. He's proven that before he got there, so they let him go be a promo guy so he could build his skills. He's got value. But where's the right fit for him? Quite frankly, I don't think that fit is in the main roster. It's certainly not on Monday Night Raw.
No. I mean, if it's any sort of in-ring spot, absolutely not. To me, I mean, right now, there's only one good fit for Lio Rush if he wants to wrestle, and it's on 205 Live. That's it.
Or NXT.
He could probably go to NXT and have a good run.
Yeah, maybe.
I hear they're trying to test out the ideas of folks that need to stay in NXT. Maybe that's the caliber of performer he wants to go be.
I'll say this. It wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be the most horrible movie he's ever had to make.
No.
To him, it may feel like the most horrible movie he's ever had to make, because, let's face it, if he thinks he's on par or greater than the great one, he's not, his ego won't allow him to go back.
I would love nothing more right now than to see him have a promo battle with the great one.
I would pay triple ticket price for that.
Because I can promise you it would not end in his favor.
No, but it would be amazing.
Because I can distinctly remember when...
Would it be as bad as John Cena versus The Rock?
That's what I was just getting ready to say. As I could distinctly remember when The Rock came back after years of absence and then buried John Cena in a promo in the middle of the ring. Just as much as I remember when John Cena showed up on Monday Night Raw and buried Roman Reigns in a promo.
He did.
So, it would be interesting nonetheless. However, I'm kind of done talking about Lio Rush. I'm over it like his height. And I'm going to leave this up to you to take us on to the next topic, Double K.
Moving on to the next topic, as Tommy T has advertised here. It's kind of a big deal. Kind of an unexpected deal. We've got a huge return.
And they've snuck the announcement in, too. They didn't even make a big deal about it.
No, but for those of you who do not know, we will be seeing Goldberg again very soon.
Goldberg.
Absolutely.
Now, for what or what that entails,
we don't know.
We have zero idea. All we know is it's a hefty price tag for a big name.
Well, so let's face it.
He's earned it.
The folks in Saudi Arabia have paid big prices for several athletes. We know that they paid Shawn Michaels several $1 million to come out of retirement for his Degeneration X match against the Brothers of Destruction. The geriatric warfare that took place for that event was something that they paid a pretty penny for.
Yeah.
But it's still weird thinking about a bald Shawn Michaels in the ring. But
it is really weird.
But that was then. So
just
Goldberg
always know he'll have your 180.
So Goldberg returning is big news today. They snuck it out when they released their return to Jeddah announcement for Saudi Arabia. We're going to talk about the Saudi show a little bit more later on about the controversy that involves that, but focusing on Goldberg. So what do you think we're going to see Goldberg do when he comes back in June? Do you think we see the Goldberg lace up the boots again?
I do. My bold prediction, and we were talking about this before we went on air, I think we're going to get to see Goldberg Lesnar again. And my reasons being what I said earlier. Huh?
What about Goldberg and Roman?
Could be. I mean, it honestly, it could be anything. I could certainly see it. I think, before we came on air, you said, what about Goldberg Taker?
No, please no.
It could be.
I think
that'd be the only spear you'd see and then a puff of dust. But with the return of Goldberg, we know Lesnar's going to be at the Saudi show. I think it's entirely possible that we see Goldberg-Lesnar 5.
100%. I mean, that's if I'm putting
it'd be 4 now.
it'd be 4, but if I'm throwing some money out there right now,
that'd be an
that's
easy one to take
where
the
I'm
bet.
throwing. It's because, like I said before we come on, that's plug and play.
It is. There's no build there, but here's my concern with that is I don't think that you've got the support from a fan base. Now, the fans over there haven't seen that match before. They've seen it on TV, but they haven't seen that match in person before. And again, you're talking about two. I mean, let's face it. Let's call it what it is. Two of the biggest big body names in the history of wrestling. People for years from now. Goldberg was gone for 12 years. Mm-hmm. And when he showed back up on Monday Night Raw 12 years after a 12-year absence, not a 12-year I went to wrestle for another company, a 12-year absence from the ring.
Out of the business completely.
Comes back, and what were the fans chanting before his music even hit?
Oh, they were chanting Goldberg, yeah, right.
Goldberg.
So,
right?
So that's Smash Mouth. But the reality of this.
I'm going to start charging you $5 for every one of those.
Well, you might
Trademark.
Yeah. Yes. So we need to trademark that as well.
Absolutely.
So with Goldberg coming back, we know we're going to get Taker. We know we're going to get Lesnar. I don't think Goldberg wrestles. I don't think he does. What I think he does is I think he shows up. He might spear somebody.
Sure. Well, I mean, if he shows up, he has to do something.
If we think about how much he did not care for having to keep his body in shape when he did his 6-month return for WWE, I don't see him being a fan of the fact that here they are a month out from the show and him having to do that all over again. I just don't see
But
that,
when's the last time you saw him?
Tag.
You know, I mean, he could have been working out this entire time.
He could have been, but I still don't think that he would want...
I mean, he's just a big dude in general.
Well, he is. You know, he looks like Lesnar, but without doping. So it was clear when he came back for his brief stint that he was dedicated to what he was doing. I don't see him being a guy to half-ass it. Nope. So if he's going to do it, I'm sure he's going to do it well. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see him lace his boots up one more time and perform in front of a crowd that he has not performed in front of.
And that's another reason why I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Okay.
Because, I mean, what was the whole reason that he came back in the first place? Because his son had never seen him perform.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for him to, you know, again, perform and do something that he's never done.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, time will tell.
If he doesn't, what does he do?
I mean, I think it's disappointing. Well, if he doesn't, let's say, if it is just an appearance, is he appearing to set something bigger up later? Maybe.
He has clearly said that he would come back again for another short run as long as it was worth it. If it was the right storyline, then he would come back. So what's the right storyline now?
Right now with the current rosters, I have no clue.
Well, I think it's...
I could look at it and be... So you know how Taker and Roman, it was over because Roman said that he was the big dog now. Well, he still says he's a big dog, and Goldberg had that huge undefeated streak in WCW.
Yeah, I would not... I'd probably be okay with a Goldberg-Roman Reigns match.
That's where I could go with it in that storyline.
I mean, as long as it's... For God's sakes, as long as it's not... We've talked about mismatches and talents being in the ring that shouldn't be in the ring together. As long as he's not coming back for a Seth Rollins or somebody like that.
Or Leo Rush.
I could take it. I wouldn't mind Goldberg, Bobby Lashley, something like that.
Oh, Bobby Lashley's a good one. I didn't think about that. But you know who else would be good? Braun Strowman. It's a brawler. Braun's not a technical guy. Goldberg doesn't do well with technical guys.
No.
They're both big body guys. The strength would be matched. I don't... It's not going to be great no matter what way you go, but if I think from the aspect of being able to put on an entertaining match,
I could even see a Drew McIntyre.
no.
I think I could because you know what, Goldberg can still move.
But Drew McIntyre is too nimble for Goldberg. Goldberg needs somebody stiffer because that's what he's used to. If you put him in there, like you just said, like Drew McIntyre, that's like putting him in there with Seth Rollins. It's not going.
I wouldn't go
I don't know if I'd go quite that far.
It's not going to set the same tone. He needs a bigger bodied guy. You know, if you put him in there against the likes of Leo Rush, he'll lose him in his boot.
Well,
he would kill him.
That would be just nonsensical silliness.
Have you watched WWE lately?
Well, yeah, it's true.
Or some of our local indie shows?
That's where I was going. Hey, we know some short guys at the local shows that could use them.
That's true. But speaking on the same match, one of the opponents that we've seen consistently for Goldberg in his return was Lesnar. How about the news coming from UFC earlier this week that Brock Lesnar has officially contacted Dana White that informed him that he not only is not returning for the DC fight, but that he is officially retiring and has no plans to return to the Octagon.
You know, 100% caught me off guard. It did. This one, I mean, you talk about coming out of left field. Being as Brock was in such a hurry to get out of MetLife Stadium and head back to Vegas where he was appreciated. Remember that announcement?
I do.
Right before the show started?
I do.
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know what to say. It did catch me off guard. I think there's a whole lot more to the story that we don't know. And we were talking about it earlier tonight. I think we got an idea.
You know, I'll be honest with you. I was watching the fight when it was DC and Stipe when it all started between DC and Brock. And he did that whole...
You're talking about the Miocic fight.
Yeah. When he came out and pushed DC, everything, I wasn't real excited. I just didn't really care to see that fight.
Well, I think that...
'Cause, I mean, what happened to Lesnar last time he got in the Octagon? Not talking about when he fought.
He defeated his opponent.
He defeated Mark Hunt.
Yeah, but it was also positive for steroids.
Well, it was positive for a prohibited substance. We don't know what that substance was, but it was a prohibited substance. But at the same time, he's a guy in his 40s. And I would still be willing to bet if you had to go fist to fist with the guy, he'd probably still kill most of the heavyweights in UFC. Maybe not your premier fighters because he's not in his prime anymore, but still most of the heavyweights.
A lot of the heavyweights now are more nimble.
Yeah, but I think let's
they used to be.
Let's say Mark Hunt was to get what he wanted. He wanted a rematch with Lesnar clean.
Yeah.
From whatever the substance was, he wanted that rematch. Mark Hunt still loses.
Oh yeah,
Mark Hunt loses that fight 9 3/4 times out of 10.
Yeah, but also Mark Hunt is like a very stiff dude.
Well, he was the number 9 ranked fighter in the world, though.
Yeah,
you know, and you're bringing a guy to retirement that hasn't fought in 5 years. You know, it's so.
Yeah, but he also was a guy that won the heavyweight title after his 4th fight in the Octagon.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Brock Lesnar is Brock Lesnar, and whether or not you like the guy, he will go down as the most decorated athlete in the history of combat sports.
Oh, there's no denying that.
Right.
You know, just his achievements from NCAA national titles to his run in the Olympics, which, mind you, only ended because he was offered a job by WWE. He was going to be on the Olympic team.
Right. So, if he would have gone to the Olympics before he accepted his offer, do you think he would have been the second
Olympic gold medalist? Oh, I don't think there's a doubt in my mind that the guy. I mean, he was undefeated as an NCAA champion. So I don't think there's a question in my mind that he would have become the second Olympic gold medalist in WWE.
Well, because you got to think a lot of the guys that he was beating up on in the NCAA back through there, he was probably going to see somewhere along the line.
Sure.
Throughout an Olympic run. Not all of them, obviously.
Potentially, though.
But
several of them.
He's gonna see a few of them anyway.
Right.
He's
a big boy.
Yeah.
But, like I said, as far as him retiring, for me, I could have seen him just pulling out of the fight.
Yeah.
I could have seen an injury or some reason for him to pull out of the fight. But the whole retiring with no plan to come back part, that's the part that really surprised me the most.
Well, I think he got the paycheck from WWE that he wanted. He's not going to get that money if he goes anywhere else. So he decided to walk away.
Well, I mean, I think...
He's under a 5-year per-appearance payment plan from WWE.
I mean, he's got it made now. And I think maybe he's starting to understand. Not that he didn't understand, but I think now he's starting to see that he can actually take it easy now and make millions.
Yeah.
You know what I've noticed in the past few months? That not so much as he just what's the word I'm looking for? Just demolishing all these guys that he was being put in the ring with. He's actually getting a fight, and you're getting to see more out of him.
Well, I think what you're starting to see is, I think he's going back to appreciating the business that made him what he is. Because let's face it, Brock Lesnar in the Octagon doesn't happen without his run in WWE. No. I mean, it just doesn't happen. Maybe it would have happened, but not at the level.
It wouldn't have been as celebrated before it happened.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
he may have won the heavyweight title. It may have been celebrated
but it wouldn't
later.
have been as big of a deal
Right.
as it became.
It wouldn't have sold as many tickets.
No. I mean,
He probably would have had to work his way up just like everybody else does.
Well, sure. The difference between Brock Lesnar and most of the other folks who've tried is that he was actually able to win.
Right.
So, that I mean, it just is what it is. It was shocking for me, but I think this means that we're probably going to continue to see him in the WWE.
Right. Speaking of continuing to see in WWE, Daniel Bryan was medically cleared to return.
That's actually great news.
It is.
As much as I don't care for him, I'm still glad that the guy. I'm always fearful that his career ends on an injury.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of really any of his gimmicks at this point. No. I got behind him a little bit for WrestleMania 30 because that was a really great, really cool storyline, the way they did that. Severe underdog, the yes movement, all these things. That was great, but, he comes back from being cleared after, 2-3 years, and they tried to pick it right back up where it left off, and it was so stale. It was so stale that nobody really got behind it. Then he switches to the new Daniel Bryan, which was refreshing. Turn of events. It was cool.
It's always refreshing when we see them come up with something new.
Yeah, it was great to see the versatility that he has. And let's face it, he has been since that turn, since the low blow on AJ Styles. He's been a great heel.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he was a pretty good heel early in his career.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is like a completely different level.
Yeah.
Though. The Captain Planet heel thing.
Yeah.
Had his own hemp title belt, things like that.
God, I was glad to see that thing go.
Yes.
And it was so horrible.
In my opinion, the ugliest title I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was close.
Yeah,
I'm
close. Sitting here right now trying to think
of worse.
I'm trying to come up with something, but right now I'm having trouble.
The only thing that might have been worse was the way that WWE tried to just put a sticker over the Smoking Skull title belt for the Hardcore Championship or something like that, back to where right after Austin took his ball and went home that one time.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried to, I guess, get back at him by just putting a sticker on his title belt. I'm not sure what they were trying to accomplish with that, but it didn't do anything for me. Great to see Daniel Bryan return, but we'll see what he's actually able to do. I would expect him to take a lighter schedule now that he's not the champion.
Yeah, he and Brie had been talking about. I thought, honestly, but I was getting ahead of myself. I honestly thought that this was going to be something, just a storyline,
right,
to get him a little time off because he and Brie were going to have another baby, and he needed to be home to help out there. But apparently, I was wrong.
Yes, yeah. So he didn't need to be there to help Brie out. with creating another child. He was actually injured and sustained that injury at WrestleMania. So it's good to hear that he has been cleared to return. I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next topic, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but I want to talk about Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, the Good Brothers. Looks like the SmackDown Raw Superstar shakeup had a delayed reaction, and the Good Brothers did not move to Monday Night Raw until this past Monday, where they were on the losing end of a fight against the Usos.
But you know what? That was a great match. Did you?
I did get to see it. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows have proven time and time again across the world that they are very talented performers and they're very good at what they do. Mm-hmm. It would be a huge loss in my mind to see them leave WWE. But here's my concern. With WWE trying to do so much to build their rosters, you're running out of time to put these guys on the show.
Yeah.
So we've seen in even local indie events what it looks like when you try to put too many people on a show.
Right.
And you end up with matches that are, one guy that's as stiff as a wall against another guy who can perform.
Right.
And it's like watching child's play in a sandbox. You're not sure what's more painful, the sand getting in their eyes or you having to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the case of Gallows and Anderson, for me, I'm a huge fan of theirs. I think it's right now they're just going to waste. Their contracts are up in September, so they're just kind of riding it out right now. For the sake of their careers, it would not bother me in the least to see them go. I feel like those guys can pop up anywhere and do well. They've proven that they can go all over the world.
So where do they go, though? Do they go to AEW?
Or do they go back to Japan?
I think they go back to Japan.
I think I see them going back to Japan.
They were huge in Japan.
If you just listen to all their promos and things, they talk about the good old days. The good old days, fellas, were not in AEW because there was no AEW.
Right.
The good old days for those guys, it sure as hell wasn't Festus for Luke Gallows. All right.
I was going to bring that up, but you did.
Sorry. I mean, let's face it, that was not the good old days.
No.
So the good old days for the Good Brothers was New Japan. So I don't see why they wouldn't go back there, because they're going to walk back in instantly to Stardom, probably some titles, absolutely.
Yeah.
But on top of that, WWE has lightly teased lately the club getting back together.
Well, that would certainly be an interesting development.
Well, they're back on Raw together.
They
you
are.
see it before Money in the Bank.
Might.
Potentially, and maybe that's your Money in the Bank spoiler that allows. So right now you've got AJ Styles, face AJ Styles, versus face Seth Rollins.
One of them's got to turn.
One of them's going to turn.
What if neither turn, but Gallows and Anderson do? I don't know where you would go with that down the road, but if everybody in the world can see Gallows and Anderson assisting AJ, I mean, right now, I used the word stale a few minutes ago. I'm going to use it again. Right now, their act is stale. There's nothing going on for the Good Brothers right now, for Gallows and Anderson. There's just, to be funny, the magic has been killed.
Yes, that's accurate.
So I don't know. They're one of those acts right now. They're performers to me that are literally just drifting through WWE until the contracts are up, and then they can move on. For them, unlike some other people that we've talked about, there are greener pastures. They can.
Oh, sure.
They can go somewhere and be successful.
They know where those greener pastures
right.
are as well.
And I guarantee you,
Like I said before, Japan.
yeah.
Yep.
And they will welcome them back with open arms.
Yeah.
100%.
So, moving on to a more modern topic, we are just a week and a half away now from Money in the Bank. One of my favorite WWE pay-per-views throughout the year.
Okay.
We even have our own contest amongst our group Our Money in the Bank winner last year never cashed in.
I feel like our briefcase has been just randomly held hostage.
It has.
I'm taking it this time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So the
You better hope we don't hit you with a hip toss.
that's
We
That's
know that
fair.
doesn't work out well for you.
that's fair.
Only man I've ever seen not get up from a hip toss.
Just be careful. I might bring the steps.
Yes. Well, just don't find any flaps. So, with the men's Money in the Bank match coming up, we know the competitors in that match. And we are looking at Finn Balor, the current Intercontinental Champion, Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, Ricochet, which I'm sold on that match already because it's a ladder match, and Ricochet is in it.
Yeah. I may not watch much else in that one.
Andrade, the Eunuch, Baron Corbin, Ali, and Randy Orton. So we've got a stacked roster going into this card, or going into this men's Money in the Bank ladder match, which is probably the largest set of guys I've seen. Not quantity, but size-wise. These are not small guys. Finn Balor's the small one, and Ali. Those are the two small ones in the group. The rest of those guys are big boys.
Well, I think if you really look at the picture, it's an even balance. Really, I mean, it's almost like one of the families that starts small and grows larger as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an even balance. Who's your pick?
That's a good question.
I've got mine, but I want to know yours first. Smokey Z, who's your pick?
Drew.
Drew.
I mean, I like Finn Balor, but I think Drew's going to take it.
So who's yours?
I'm going Andrade.
I thought about that earlier today.
Well, you can't say it now.
I'm not. I'm just saying I thought about it earlier.
Because look, I mean,
that Andrade.
Is that like La Tank?
What were you gonna say?
No, I mean, let's see. How many? 1, 2, 3. I'm just trying to count how many guys have already won Money in the Bank. I don't think we're going to have a 2-time winner.
No, I don't
out
think
of
you
this.
will. And then you've got putting it on Baron Corbin again would be like taking an old lady shopping cart because we saw what he did it the first time.
Look,
that would be like what
so-
they're doing with the U.S. title here.
There's I'm probably going to throw out an unpopular opinion for a very small section of wrestling fans, but I am sick to death of Baron Corbin.
Every
He's
time I see
talented.
him, I want to
He's
change the channel.
dude, he's talented. He's talented, and that's
Super
the bad
talented.
thing.
Super talented.
But
It's
everywhere else, he's horrible. He sucks, and it grates my nerves so bad. I mean, there's just
Well, so
nothing else interesting.
We've seen this gimmick before, and watching what they've done with Baron Corbin's like the same thing with Corporate Kane. You give them a title, you change their gimmick, but then their title ends. They're no longer the manager of something, but you keep them in their same gimmick.
Yeah.
Go back to the old Baron Corbin.
Baron Corbin went from being the lone wolf, coming out with this wolf symbol in flames,
Which was great.
to coming out
I
in
like that Baron Corbin.
to coming out in a 3-piece suit.
I've never been a Baron Corbin fan, but I like that one much better.
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't get what they're doing. But my pick for this match actually is going to be Ricochet.
Wow.
I believe that WWE is in the habit right now of pulling things out of left field, of trying to keep people on their feet. They promised new faces, which Andrade would be.
He would be a new face.
That would be a new face. Drew McIntyre would even be a new face.
Hey, let's face it. Andrade has a very famous name in his corner right now.
He does.
So
He does.
I'm just
Now,
saying.
but here's the question. Let's go back. Did Drew McIntyre win the Money in the Bank before?
No.
I don't think so. I know he's had the Intercontinental title way back then. But they've been giving
I
him a huge
distinctly
push
remember.
and nothing.
I don't think Drew ever won the Money in the Bank.
Maybe he didn't.
I don't think he did.
I know he was around when they were doing
Oh
it.
no, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about when we were playing Universe and
No, that's not what I'm talking about. That's not.
Speaking of Gallows, what would he say right now?
That's
Nerds.
Well, yes, he would. But hey, we earn it.
You do. And you wear it well.
But yeah, I think that Ricochet, that's going to be my pick. I'm a huge Ricochet fan. You guys know that.
Oh, I'm right there with you, too.
I wish Aleister Black was in that match.
I think that Ricochet here has he may just be in it for the value, but I got to tell you, I'm okay with that because the guy is freakishly athletic and is just a human highlight reel. Yeah. The absolute definition of being a human highlight reel.
You know what seeing him in a ladder match will remind me of? Seeing
What's that?
Jeff Hardy in a ladder match.
Yes, absolutely. So let's move on and let's talk about the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, which also should be super exciting. We have the goddess Alexa Bliss. Easy, Smokey. Easy over there. We've got Bayley, Natalya, Naomi, Carmella.
He had to take a puff.
Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose, and Ember Moon, all competing in the women's Money in the Bank match. I'm cautious here, and I'm cautious because Alexa Bliss is already recovering from injuries recently. I think it's a risk putting her in this match.
Well, they gave her a little test on Monday night. They put her in what turned out to be sort of a lackluster kind of match with Naomi. It wasn't a horrible match, but it was definitely lackluster. She wasn't dressed to perform, anything like that, and that was kind of the basis of the match. She complained about it, and she did take a couple hard bumps during that match on Monday night. So it's a huge jump up to go to a Money in the Bank ladder, or any ladder match, not just a Money in the Bank, but any ladder match, but especially this one where bodies are going to be flying everywhere.
Sure.
So,
who's your pick in this one? Smokey? Who you got? Mandy? He didn't pick Alexa Bliss.
I don't think they're going
to.
She's already won it.
Smokey Z just swerved the fans.
She already won it, because remember she beat Rousey with the briefcase.
She did win. She did win.
I feel like I'm overthinking it. Who's your pick, Tommy?
My pick? I'm actually I'm gonna go with Ember Moon.
Really?
Yeah.
That's where I was.
See, yeah.
I was thinking Ember, but
yeah,
I think they're gonna give it to Mandy.
You know what? I'm sticking with Ember Moon. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah. Either way, I think this is going to be exciting. These ladies have a huge opportunity to put on a great show. A lot of these faces new to that level of the card.
Yeah. So
it's going to be interesting to see what they pull off with the women's Money in the Bank match.
Well, how many former champions are in there? Count them.
There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 former women's champions.
I don't believe it will be any of them. I don't disagree with Smokey Z on Mandy Rose, but I think it'll be Ember Moon.
Yeah, I'd be okay with either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those folks winning. As I look through the rest of the card here, I'm not seeing anything that I'm overly excited about. Kofi Kingston versus Kevin Owens.
I think if there's a shock
Kofi
that night, if there's something that comes out of left field that we're just like, oh my God.
You mean like a Sami Zayn coming out to provide the rescue?
Look, if you ever say, I will walk off of this show right now.
What about CM Punk?
Yeah.
Right. How about that, big boy? Drop a little pipe bomb on you?
That's
He gonna take that belt and leave, go back to Chicago.
That will
like
be
he did in that one Money in the Bank against John Cena.
That will be the fastest way for me to end this show. Would be for that to happen.
But no, what in all seriousness, I think if you pick a wow factor match and you didn't see it coming, I think Kevin Owens may take the title from Kofi Kingston.
Which that would be a wow factor, but I'm going to tell you the bigger wow factor for this card.
Kofi retaining.
Nope. It's this match right here. Folks, you can't see what I'm pointing at, but I'm looking at the Raw, the SmackDown Women's Championship match, or SmackDown Women's Championship match. Sorry, I'm looking at the Becky Two Belts picture. But it is Becky Lynch defending the Raw Women's Championship against Lacey Evans. I think this is your surprise of the night. I think Lacey Evans walks away clean with the victory over Becky Lynch.
Well, see, for me, that wouldn't be a surprise because that's what I would pick. That's what I think is going to happen. I think there's been way too much effort into putting Lacey Evans over with fans without even getting in the ring.
Yeah.
There's just been so much.
It's worked.
It's worked. And then when the time was right, they turned her loose. She and Becky have had some hellacious fights.
Yeah.
In the last few weeks. So I don't see Lacey Evans not winning that match. I just don't.
But we also have seen what they have done with newcomers here lately.
Well, yeah, but with most of their newcomers, they haven't spent as much time really building them up. Lacey's been coming out for a month or two now, just strutting, just coming out, just being seen.
She did it at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I feel like if WWE will just put you out there to just be seen and go away for the night, then there's something there that they really like and they really want to hold on to. Look, I mean, let's use your girl, Alexa Bliss. That's what they've done with her. Every time she's been on the shelf, she doesn't just go away. They find some way.
Use her in some sort of capacity.
Right. They find a way to get Alexa Bliss on TV because creative, Vince, they love Alexa Bliss and they want her on TV. I firmly believe she could be one of those people where her career, her in-ring career, could completely end and be over, and she still has a job, she still has a home somewhere with WWE doing something.
Sure. So let's wrap up our Money in the Bank conversation. I'm let you go ahead and take us into our next topic of the evening.
Out of nowhere, we get a new video released, and it has none other than not Dean Ambrose in it. It was a very well-produced John Moxley kind of return to an escape video is what I would say. You see him pacing back and forth in his cell.
Let the rumors begin.
Let the rumors begin, absolutely. And he breaks down, literally breaks through the cinder block wall, runs out of the prison yard. He's free, hops the fence. To me, I said this last week on this show. I don't think that he's going to AEW. I don't think he's leaving completely.
Like I was talking about earlier, what he had posted with that video was what happens when you leave Monday Night Raw. He didn't say anything about leaving the company.
Right.
He said Monday Night Raw. So is he jumping to SmackDown?
But you know what? There were more than one Easter egg that could go either way. Dropped in that video.
As we went back and looked through the video this evening, I showed you guys the part where you could see the dice hanging on the wall with Double or Nothing right around the corner in Vegas. It wouldn't surprise me if that was an Easter egg there. Or is this an intentional, swerve again from WWE, who again we know likes to blend the lines between reality and kayfabe?
Well, sure. And could that, if that's exactly what it is, could that be WWE with the dice subliminally taking a shot at AEW?
Sure. And who knows? It could be. It wouldn't surprise me knowing Vince McMahon and his folks.
I'm not going to lie. That would be awesome. If
That's
what's happening.
It would be a direct shot across the bow to AEW.
Oh, and it's landing. That shot's landing.
So it'll be interesting. There's nothing really that we've got to add to this right now other than it's going to be interesting to see where this goes, where John Moxley shows his face. So I'm going to move on to our final topic of the evening, and actually I'm going to change this up a little bit. We're going to go through and let's just talk about the Saudi show that's coming up. And this will be our final topic of the evening so that we can wrap up tonight's show. How do you? I just want right off the cuff feelings about how do you feel about? We know that there was controversy with the last Saudi show in the fall. How do we feel about WWE continuing their partnership with the Saudi Arabian government and continuing to host shows? They've got a contract that runs, I think, through 2022. So, I mean, how do you feel about it?
The way I felt about the last one was that it was all about the money. I didn't feel... I mean, obviously, they put a ton of value. They brought back a lot of nostalgia acts.
Yeah.
Things like that. And I think if you're going to bring back those nostalgia acts, that's the place to do it. If you're going to bring back that many.
Sure. Sure. Hogan even made his return to the company at that show.
Right. I mean, you had Hogan there. It was just... DX was there. Taker, Kane. You know, it was almost like overload. Then I just don't feel... I feel like at these shows like this that you can look at the card and you already know what's going to happen. You know... I don't know. I'll watch it. Because it's...
I'm not real excited.
I didn't get super excited for the first one. I'm not super excited for this one.
I didn't even watch the first one.
I don't mind the fact that Sami Zayn won't be on it. I won't hide that. That might be one of the main reasons that I am front and center to watch it.
So, it looks like the return for this Saudi show, I don't think it's gotten a name yet. I'm actually trying to see if I can...
the first one, the Super Show?
No, it was the Greatest Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Oh, was that the...
Yeah, that was the first show that occurred last year.
O'Neal fell in the ring.
Highlight of the night, baby.
Yeah. So, it will be interesting to see. I'm looking now to see what WWE... All they have announced is that they are continuing their partnership and will host an event on Friday, June 7th at 8 p.m. And the event will feature Roman Reigns, The Undertaker, Kofi Kingston, Braun Strowman, Seth Rollins, Goldberg, AJ Styles, and Brock Lesnar. There is no additional information that's been made available, and that show is now, just merely a month away.
And again, though, you look at every name you just named.
Sure.
And if we sat down and really looked at that, instead of just naming them off really quickly, we could probably predict exactly what's coming, or at least what matches are coming.
Sure.
I'm not sure where Taker's going to fit in there. I always,
So I think we're going to see Taker Elias to play off of the confrontation that they had.
Yeah, because they didn't really do anything after that.
No, I think that was definitely setting that up.
I was a little disappointed that had happened the night after WrestleMania.
Yeah, well, we all talked about being bitter about that. We sat at MetLife Stadium hoping to hear that gong go off, and for the first time in over 10 years, he wasn't there.
Yeah. Instead, Smokey Z was left counting sky scooters over the stadium.
That's very true, folks.
But we did get to see the Thugonomics John Cena.
That's true. And he took a flying bus to get to the stadium.
It's a sky bus.
So and we had several rowboats that we had to move between. But folks, all of this stuff that you're hearing us reference was stuff that I could not make up. Smokey Z actually tried to reinvent a plane while we were on our way to New York.
Not jokingly. 100% was invested in that conversation in having a bus with wings.
Yeah. I mean, he was committed to it.
I applaud
100% committed to it.
I try not to invent anything.
Well, it's because somebody else has already done it. I mean,
that's accurate. Well, folks, this is going to wrap up our second episode of Wrestle Rewind. It has been another great evening here for our second live broadcast. We look forward to continuing to be able to bring these to you every Thursday night. And myself and the folks here, we're excited about it. We're going to continue to pick apart the wrestling industry as best we can from our perspective as fans. Folks, thank you for taking the time to listen to us tonight. We do appreciate it. I am Tommy T. I am joined by
Double K.
Smokey Z.
And we will see you guys the next time the bell tolls.